So for many kids, fading those sleep dependencies and getting to the point where they're able to just fall asleep with the parents sitting on the edge of the bed, not talking and not touching them, will be enough to either reduce or eliminate those night wakings. But for other kids, we'll have to more explicitly teach that independent sleep through sleep training. So 3 options we're going to talk about today are extinction, time-based exiting, and camping out. The first thing is, no matter what sleep training method the family chooses, we want to practice it during the day first. So I like to say we would never expect a child to practice a coping strategy for the first time, like when their favorite toy breaks. But a lot of times we expect kids to use sleep skills for the first time at night, which can be pretty stressful for a lot of kids, being scared or alone in the dark. So we really want to build up that trust and confidence by practicing during the day. So one protocol is from Emily Varon at Ready, Set, Sleep, and she calls it the I'll be right back protocol. And basically, while the child is just happy, relaxed, and engaged with some preferred playthings, parents can start saying, "Oh, I'll be right back," or whatever kind of consistent phrase they want to use, and then returning very quickly. So the key here is we want to start really small to make sure the child's successful. This may mean starting with as little as 3 or 5 seconds, or even something like peekaboo or really obvious hide and seek where the parent kind of peeks behind a door and peeks right back. And then after the child is having success in common areas like the kitchen or the living room, then parents can start running those trials in the bedroom and fading those play activities until the child can really stay alone in their bedroom for about 1 to 2 minutes. And then we can also support this during the day at ABA sessions. So maybe the BCBA or the RBT is running trials, and then parents also running trials during that caregiver collaboration time. Before we do start sleep training, we just want to visit some of those more foundational prerequisites to make sure the child is ready. If all those pieces aren't really in place, it could cause behaviors to escalate when parents leave at night. So we really want to run through our checklist. Is the child waking up at that same time every day? Are they falling asleep relatively quickly? And this can be with caregiver support at this point. Are they able to sleep in their designated sleep area? Again, that can be with caregiver support. Can caregivers leave them alone in bed during the day for about those 1 to 2 minutes without behaviors? And do they have that consistent calming bedtime routine? So if we can answer yes to these questions, we can go ahead and consider sleep training. But if the answer to any of those questions is no, then we want to go back and address those steps prior to starting sleep training. Okay, so now we're going to talk about extinction. And extinction is definitely not all bad. And the shaping procedures that we do use are all going to have some form of that partial extinction in order to get us to that next step. But pure extinction without teaching the skills necessary to fall asleep can a lot of times lead to kids who maybe aren't having those big behaviors anymore or aren't coming out of their room, but they also just aren't sleeping any better because they didn't learn those skills of actually how to fall asleep. And then if there are severe behaviors like physical aggression or self-injurious behavior, it's just not going to be safe to make this recommendation. And then lastly, pure extinction can be really difficult for some families. So it's really hard to walk a crying child back to bed 10 times in the middle of the night, especially if those families are chronically sleep deprived. So a lot of times this is going to lead to that intermittent reinforcement of parents bringing the child into their bed every few times, really making that intervention ineffective. So another option that we can try is called time-based visiting. And we can start implementing this at bedtime after the child has been successful with that I'll be right back protocol in those common areas and in their bedroom for about 1 to 2 minutes. So for time-based visiting, parents are going to follow that same protocol that they did during the day, but now they're just going to do it at bedtime. So even though the child has worked up to those 1 to 2 minutes, we want to make sure to go back to those very short intervals of just a few seconds and then work our way back up again. Because doing it at night is going to be more stressful and difficult on the child. So parents are going to say, I'll be right back, leave for those few seconds, come back in, give the child a quick pat, and then they're going to be leaving again. So the idea is we want to keep the intervals short enough to start with so that problem behaviors don't happen. But if they do happen, we can just guide parents to settle the child back down and then begin the process again once they're calm, but with even shorter intervals. And then we also want to make sure that parents expect the night wakings to continue, and that's totally normal because we don't want them to get frustrated and give up too easily. The wakings are not going to stop until the intervals become long enough that the child is actually falling asleep while the parent is out of the room. And then lastly, another method is camping out. And this one can be a really great option for parents that are just so tired that they really want to get sleep like that night if possible. So they can put a mattress or a sleeping bag on the child's floor, and then the parent will sleep there for the entire night. So since the parent is there at bedtime and then doesn't move overnight, night waking should go down pretty quickly. And then they can move the mattress closer and closer to the door, either each night or every few nights until they are actually in the hallway. Then alternatively, if parents don't want to stay the whole night, they can just sit in a chair next to the child's bed and then leave once the child is asleep. They would then do the same thing that they would with the mattress, but just move that chair closer and closer to the door each night until they're actually out in the hallway. But again, we just want to make sure parents know with that option that night wakings will continue until the child is actually falling asleep while the parent is out of the room. And then as always, we want to just shape what we do based on the child's response. So either going slower or faster, or staying longer in one spot, or just skipping ahead on some steps depending on how the child is responding. Okay, so now that we know some ways that we can help with night wakings, we always have that question about, will our funders approve these goals? So a lot of funders might not approve sleep goals per se, but there's still tons of things that we can work on both in client goals and caregiver goals that will support sleep without actually making falling asleep the goal. So just some examples. When told, I'll be right back, the learner will tolerate the caregiver leaving the room for up to 2 minutes by engaging in an alternative play activity. Or caregivers will target decreasing learners' interfering behaviors at bedtime by pairing learners' sleep space with reinforcement. Or caregivers will target decreasing learners' interfering behaviors when denied access by prompting learner to relinquish electronics and engage with an alternative preferred activity. So hopefully you can see these are all just regular behavioral goals that most funders probably won't have a problem with, but they will also do a lot to support the learner's sleep. Okay, so what can we really expect if we do take this time to work with families on decreasing those night wake-ups? The positive effects of better sleep are going to show up in absolutely every aspect of a client's life. From improved attention, improved reaction times in responding, improved mood, toleration for frustration, reduced irritability, improved retention of learned skills, improved social skills, improved weight maintenance, better ability to fight illness, better judgment and decision making, all leading up to what we strive to do every day in helping clients make the most progress they possibly can in ABA.